Chapter 2181. Duke Mei, Duke Tong. Crucial information regarding the battle entered the minds of Duke Mei and Duke Tong at the moment when they saw the battlefield themselves. They also learned of the current situation. Duke Mei sighed. Duke Long. Back then, when he first saw Duke Long, the latter still had black hair and was a youngster. The moment Duke Long joined Heavenly Court, he met with Duke Mei. Even though Duke Mei was a senior, he quickly greeted in return. Friend, you are a Tao guardian. The happiness of all living beings is resting on your shoulders. Duke Long replied solemnly. I will do my best for the world, even if I have to sacrifice my life. There is no regret. Time passed. When Duke Mei reawakened in the 5 regions, Duke Long had already died ahead of him. Duke Long, you died a good death. Throughout your life, you did not turn on the promise you made from the start. Duke Mei said with deep emotions before flying forward. And now, it is our turn. Within Calamity Luck Altar, Bing Sichuan's eyes shined with bright light. The immortal graveyard. So it was nearby all along. Heavenly Court has brilliant methods after all. We could not find it even with repeated investigations. Be it Longevity Heaven or Fang Yuan, they had already confirmed the information of the immortal graveyard. They had expected Gu immortals to awaken during this battle. Quickly look. Fang Yuan's side is making a new action. One of the 8 extremities shouted. Bing Sichuan quickly shifted his gaze. He saw that 4 immortal Gu houses, Profound Frost House, Dragon Soul Dark Castle, Red River Pavilion, and Red Heavenly Altar, had changed locations, flying down the mountain. Bing Sichuan could not help but feel shocked. It seems that Fang Yuan has a plan already, but mobilizing 4 immortal Gu houses at once, isn't that too much? Fang Yuan had a total of 7 immortal Gu houses, now that Rising Cloud City was given to Demon Immortal Chi-Ju, and after moving 4 immortal Gu houses away, there was only Unbreakable Golden Fortress and Scarlet Palace left on the mountain. Currently, the most important thing was to reach the peak of Book Mountain and ruin Heavenly Court's killer move so that they could not obtain Primordial Domain. Right now, Fang Yuan diverted his forces to attack the Gu immortals of the immortal graveyard. He was putting his emphasis on the wrong target, but at the next moment, the 4 diverted immortal Gu houses split up. Profound Frost House and Red River Pavilion went to help Zhanbu Du in fighting Qing Chou. Dragon Soul Dark Castle and Red Heavenly Altar charged towards Heavenly Court's immortal graveyard. Bing Sichuan realized at once. He yelled in his mind. So Fang Yuan is trying to free up Zhanbu Du. Zhanbu Du had incomplete freedom transformation. He was powerful and unstoppable. He was the crucial battle strength for Fang Yuan's side to ascend the mountain. Even though Fairy Ming Hao's humble reciprocation killer move was broken now, there were 3 pseudo-venerables at the top of the mountain. If ordinary rank 8 immortal Gu houses charged to the top, they would be suppressed by the 3. Divine Emperor City was at the middle section of the mountain. It was a tough hurdle 2.It had. The killer move Broken Homes and Dead Family. That was the biggest counter to immortal Gu houses. Thus, letting Zhanbu Du take the lead was the wisest decision. Dragon Soul Dark Castle and Red Heavenly Altar flew rapidly, soon arriving before Duke Mei and Duke Tong. Duke Mei took in a deep breath. He straightened both arms and aimed at the 2 immortal Gu houses. Vines suddenly appeared around Dragon Soul Dark Castle and Red Heavenly Altar. These vines were dry and tough. They bound the 2 immortal Gu houses tightly. Oh no, the immortal essence storages in the immortal Gu houses are being absorbed by the vines. Fang Yuan's subordinate Gu immortals realized this and shouted in anger. The 2 immortal Gu houses started to counterattack. The surface of Red Heavenly Altar radiated bright red light, melting all of the dried vines around it. Dragon roars could be heard from Dragon Soul Dark Castle. The vines around it were snapped and sent flying. But with this amount of time, Duke Tong's killer move was already prepared. 2 different-sized bronze rings formed instantly and attached themselves to the 2 immortal Gu houses and spinning rapidly, buzzing loudly. The bronze rings were flying too quickly. They seemed like vague shadows that immobilized the immortal Gu houses that they were surrounding. Heavenly Court had learned from their lesson. During the Fate War, because of Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's method, Longevity Heaven managed to directly enter Heavenly Court, catching them off guard. In that battle, Even though heavenly court's goo immortals awakened, because they lacked immortal goo, they did not display their true battle strength. But now, heavenly court prepared the immortal goo of their hibernating goo immortals in advance. Thus, Duke Mei and Duke Tong were able to immediately act and restrain the two immortal goo houses. But good times did not last. Suddenly, a dragon soul appeared from within Dragon Soul Dark Castle. The dragon soul made several attempts before managing to destroy the bronze ring. Next, Fairy Meow Een and Lady White Rabbit flew out of their immortal goo house, attacking Duke Mei and Duke Tong. Fairy Meow Een activated Wondrous Hand Profound Sound. Her 8 arms stretched out elegantly. Lady White Rabbit had lumps of light surrounding her. Her aura surged intensely. The two immortals charged forward. Duke Mei was the first to block them. After a few rounds, Lady White Rabbit noticed a weakness and got around Duke Mei to attack Duke Tong. Duke Tong was interrupted. He had to cancel his bronze ring killer move and fight White Rabbit instead. The 4 immortals clashed and parted continuously. Nobody could interrupt their battle. Duke Mei and Duke Tong had rank 8 cultivation level, and their battle strength was on par with Qin Ding Ling. But they did not have pseudo-venerable battle strength like Duke Long Dragon Soul Dark Castle and Red Heavenly Altar regained freedom. They charged at the immortal graveyard, trying to destroy it. Rumble. These 2 immortal goo houses had just charged forward when a goo immortal repelled them. This goo immortal had a calm expression. His nose was tall, and his eyes were deep. His shoulders were lifted up as they held up 1 mini mountain each. With me, Uncle Feng here, don't even think of destroying the immortal graveyard. Uncle Feng blocked the path of the 2 immortal goo houses. He had the demeanor of a person trying to stop an army. Fang Yuan's subordinates were not ready to give up. They controlled the immortal goo houses to attack. But Uncle Feng fought similarly to Lu Weiyin. They were specialized in defense. Even with the attack of the 2 immortal goo houses, he still held them off. What do we do now? A goo immortal in Red Heavenly Altar asked. Currently, Fairy Meow Een and Lady White Rabbit were fighting against Duke Mei and Duke Tong. The mission of destroying the immortal graveyard was in the hands of these 2 immortal goo houses. No worries, he has already been hit by our method. The immortals in Dragon Soul Dark Castle snickered. Guhas, he said that. Uncle Feng's expression turned ashen. He spat out pieces of soul fragments. A soul path method? Uncle Feng frowned. In his era, there was no soul path. Right at this moment, a newly awakened goo immortal flew out of the immortal graveyard. It seems like my awakening was timely. This female immortal was just a soul. She had no body. She blew at Uncle Feng lightly. This blue-gray breath reached Uncle Feng's body and quickly fused into his soul. Uncle Feng felt a sense of relief. His soul injury was rapidly healing. Oh no, this is Heavenly Court's soul path great expert from Spectral Soul's era, Fairy Maiden Soul, who is on par with Thunder Ghost True Monarch. She is most skilled at healing methods. The goo immortals in Dragon Soul Dark Castle had a change of expression. The ones in Red Heavenly Altar gritted their teeth. Kill this healing goo immortal first, otherwise, all our efforts will be nullified by her. The battle erupted again. The 2 immortal goo houses focused their target on Fairy Maiden Soul. All sorts of killer moves were unleashed. Uncle Feng defended desperately. Both sides gave it their all as the sky turned dark from their clash. Winds and waves were rising. While they were in a deadlock, another immortal awakened and joined the battle. This immortal had a round head and large ears. He wore a loose robe and chi path aura surged around him. Boom, boom, boom. As the air exploded, the chi path immortal charged in between the 2 immortal goo houses. Take this move, rugged fiendish chi. The chi path immortal shouted as he waved his sleeves, blowing out countless traces of fiendish chi. The fiendish chi gathered and took form, becoming huge rocks that turned into mountains and valleys, enveloping the 2 immortal goo houses. Red Heavenly Altar and Dragon Soul Dark Castle tried to charge out at the first moment, destroying countless fiendish chi mountains. But after these mountains shattered, they quickly formed again to obstruct the immortal goo houses. This is Senior 7 Fiendish Primeval Monarch. Uncle Feng and Fairy Maiden Soul were surprised. 7 Fiendish Primeval Monarch was a famous chi path expert renowned in history. After he became rank 8 and traveled the world, He purposely looked for the fiendish Qi springs and created the Shabi from them. He refined a total of 99 Shabi. He formed a grand army with them. These Shabi were compatible with his immortal killer moves. He could use them extremely well. During that era, almost nobody could rival him. The current Shabi 95 was one of them. After a long period of time, its strength had risen to legendary immemorial beast level. With the help of 7 fiendish primeval monarch, Heavenly Court managed to defend the immortal graveyard. Thereafter, more and more Gu immortals awakened. Heavenly Court survived the initial stage, which was the most dangerous. They started counterattacking. Many Gu immortals directly got around the small battlefield and tried to reinforce Book Mountain. Giant Sun, Immortal Venerable, are you there? Come out and meet me. Golden-hooped Great Immortal shouted in deep anger. He had once invited Giant Sun, Immortal Venerable, to tour Heavenly Court. During that time, Giant Sun, Immortal Venerable planted a seed that erupted during the Fate War, causing longevity heaven to arrive in Heavenly Court and cause huge losses to them. 95, come here. 7 fiendish primeval monarch blocked demon immortal Chi-Ju and beckoned Shabi 95, Master. Shabi 95 was filled with admiration and fear. It went to 7 fiendish primeval monarch with injuries all over the body. 7 fiendish primeval monarch petted it lightly. Shabi 95 instantly became revitalized. Its injuries mostly healed. Demon immortal Chi-Ju had a dark expression. With the appearance of 7 fiendish primeval monarch, his plan of capturing Shabi 95 became hopeless. Stop him. Right at this moment, Fairy Ming Hao shouted. Jean Budu moved like a raging dragon. He arrived at the middle of the mountain from the southeast direction. Behind him, Qing Cho was chasing relentlessly, but it was obstructed by Profound Frost House and Red River Pavilion. It could not move quickly enough to stop Jean Budu. 7 fiendish primeval monarch took in a deep breath. You are one of the clones of the current generation demon, Fang Yuan. Let me have a taste of your power. Right when he was about to go, demon immortal Chi-Ju blocked him. The latter chuckled. You think you can leave? 7 fiendish primeval monarch had a solemn expression. Since senior insists, then I, the junior, will have to risk my life to face you in battle. Where are you going? Gu Yu Fang Zheng shouted loudly. Demon Judgment Board, which was flying around the place, quickly arrived, but with a loud sound. It was sent flying by the unbreakable golden fortress that had just arrived as well. Help Jean Budu to fight his way to the peak of the mountain. The other immortals saw a chance. They took action and blocked the Heavenly Court Gu immortals for Jean Budu. Fairy Ming Hao saw this and sighed deeply. She had no choice but to fly out and stand in front of Jean Budu. Wait, get lost. Jean Budu shouted, sweeping his arm fiercely. Boom. Fairy Ming Hao's body was covered in dazzling starlight. Even though she blocked this move, her entire person was sent flying like a cannonball. She crashed through many rocks on Book Mountain before stopping. Chapter 2182. Who Elevation. Fairy Ming Hao's body shook as she quickly stood up. She was not injured, but the issue here was that she could not block Jean Budu. In this current situation, Jean Budu's threat level was far greater than the immortal Gu houses. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Fairy Ming Hao stomped lightly as she quickly flew out. Her palms stretched out as tens of stardust specks flew around. Jean Budu did not dodge. He allowed the stardust to land on him. He was as fierce as a dragon or tiger, only aiming for the mountain peak. Fairy Ming Hao gritted her teeth. She could only fly forward and face Jean Budu in close combat. Jean Budu kicked, and she was sent flying again. He completely ignored her. Charge. Some Gu immortals saw Jean Budu ascending to the top of Book Mountain. They were about to cheer when suddenly, starlight flashed before them. Jean Budu was enveloped by starlight and quickly vanished. When he reappeared, he was at the base of Book Mountain. The immortals were shocked before understanding why. This killer move was not new. It had been used during the Fate War, as expected. When Jean Budu raised his head to look above Book Mountain, he saw a tiny and delicate immortal Gu house. Which other chessboard-looking immortal Gu house could it be but Star Constellation chessboard? Star Constellation chessboard radiated with starlight. Any enemy that approached the peak of the mountain would get enveloped by starlight and forcefully teleported elsewhere. It was an impossible position. Fairy Ming Hao charged at Jean Budu again. trying to stall him while feeling nervous internally. Hopefully, no one can break this killer move. This move had been used before. The more a Gu immortal uses their method, the greater the risk of it getting seen through. Jean Boudu's gaze turned slightly dim. He soon made a decision that he endured Fairy Ming Hao's furious attacks as he charged to the top again at full speed. He seemed to have made no advancement, but he had succeeded in his goal. Fairy Feng Yuan was originally fully invested in retrieving the primordial domain. Now, she had to multitask and control star constellation chessboard. Her efficiency was greatly reduced. Fang Yuan's side had to continue exerting pressure to distract her. Fairy Ming Hao had an outstanding combat system. The more stars that hit the target, the greater the damage they would progressively take. Jean Boudu initially resisted the stars which could not even pierce his skin. But after hundreds of stardust strikes, he was bathed in blood. When the attacks reached over 1,000, his wounds were deep until bones could be seen. During this period, he had already failed in 3 attempts to charge up. He was transported by star constellation chessboard each time. It seems that at this moment, nobody can break this method. Fairy Ming Hao relaxed at long last. During this period, Gu immortals had taken action, but star constellation chessboard's killer move was constantly modified by Heavenly Court to a mild extent, allowing it to display effectiveness even now. This cannot drag on. Qi Si Ancestor had been fighting against Fairy Yuxiu all along. Seeing Jean Boudu's state, he made a decision that he waved his sleeves. A silhouette flew out, taking the place of the main body to deceive Fairy Yuxiu. Fairy Yuxiu quickly exposed this fake body, but Lu Weiyin flew in front of her, desperately blocking her. Because Fairy Yuxiu was stalled for a moment, Qi Si Ancestor, who was far away, summoned a secluded domain of heaven and earth above his head. Hu Land. Demon Immortal Qi Ju was fighting against 7 fiendish primeval monarch. At this moment, both of them turned around together and shouted in unison, "Move aside." Qi Si Ancestor's sleeves fluttered intensely along with his beard. His face was flushing. Indeed, Lu Weiyin quickly dodged to the side. But Qi Si Ancestor suddenly changed directions, aiming towards Book Mountain instead. Oh no. Fairy Yuxiu saw this, and her heart jumped. She quickly used a killer move, disregarding the danger as she stood between Qi Si Ancestor and Book Mountain. Immortal killer move. Hu Elevation. Hu Land suddenly shook intensely as countless Qi currents shot out of it fiercely. Qi currents surged intensely and grandly. There was righteous Qi, evil Qi, blood Qi, strange Qi, and others. They had gathered into a single force under the effect of Hu Land. They were tightly connected and inseparable. Bam! Heaven and earth shook. It could astound demons and gods. An immensely thick Qi beam shot out abruptly. It flew towards Book Mountain with terrifying force that could split heaven and earth. Fairy Yuxiu gritted her teeth. She used the strongest defensive method that she possessed. Traces of fresh wisdom path insignias surrounded her body, radiating over the world as the Qi beam approached. The wisdom path insignias were quickly melted, and Fairy Yuxiu's tiny body was quickly submerged in the vast force. The Qi beam was obstructed by this and lost 30% of its power, but it still moved towards Book Mountain with an unstoppable momentum. Don't even think of it. At the crucial moment, Baizong Shui controlled a rank 8 immortal Gu house and charged forward. With a heaven-shaking sound, Heavenly Court's rank 8 immortal Gu house only lasted for a few breaths of time before disintegrating. On Book Mountain, star constellation chessboard shot out a beam of light that landed on Baizong Shui through the gaps of the immortal Gu house, bringing her away. Without Baizong Shui controlling it, the immortal Gu house quickly got destroyed by the Qi beam, turning into scraps. Next, even the scraps were blown to oblivion by the Qi beam. The Qi beam's power weakened by another 20%, but it was less than 100 steps away from Book Mountain. The crucial moment. A golden-green giant appeared. It was Qing Chou. Qing Chou raised its shield and blocked the Qi beam. Boom! The Qi pillar sent Qing Chou crashing into Book Mountain as well, creating a huge pit that was hundreds of feet deep. Even as the Qi beam dissipated, the lingering aura permeated the battlefield. Qing Chou did not move at all. Its shield was destroyed, and a huge hole that was completely see-through appeared on its chest. Divine Emperor City quickly came over with flickering green light. A spiral appeared, and sucked Qing Chao's dead body back into it. Elsewhere, starlight specks started to shine beside Fairy Ming Hao as Fairy Yuxiu appeared. Her hair was disheveled. She was in a pitiful state. Her expression was pale. Her body was unstable. She fell to a half kneeling position on the ground immediately after Qi Si ancestors whose elevation killer move was terrifyingly powerful. He defeated Yuxiu, destroyed the immortal Gu house, and killed Qing Chou in just one move. But Qi Si ancestor was in poor condition as well. After using this move, he lost 30% of his immortal essence storage. He even expended 10,000 Qi Path Dao marks. Chains started to appear from the space around him, binding Qi Si ancestor in a fixed position. Qi Si ancestor's killer move was too powerful. It caused limitless retaliation method to trigger. Lu Weiyin saw this, and his expression changed slightly. If this Hu elevation was not used on Book Mountain, which was guarded by Heavenly Court desperately, it would have caused immense destruction to the great worlds. That would severely affect Limitless Demon Venerable's final derivation. Thus, Limitless Demon Venerable's method activated, restraining Qi Si ancestor immediately. Qi Si ancestor wanted to struggle, but was helpless to find that he could not move. The chains even moved into his mind, stopping the collision of his thoughts. There were also chains in his immortal aperture that sealed all his immortal essence. Lu Weiyin quickly went to him and guarded his body. The peak of Book Mountain was still not taken down. The primordial domain's silhouette in the sky was becoming more vivid, but Bing Sai Chuan smiled from within Calamity Luck Altar. Heavenly Court is at their wits' end too. Earlier, even though Heavenly Court blocked Hu elevation at the critical moment, they had expended their trump cards. They were exhausted now. Bing Sai Chuan could tell that they were weakened. He immediately said to the 8 extremities behind him, "The time is now. Go and attack Book Mountain." Heaven extremity Gai Mei, Earth extremity Gan Ni, Black extremity Sun Ming Lu, Yellow extremity Jiao Hua, Space extremity Chang Bai, Time extremity Man Xini, Flood extremity Yue, and Desolate extremity Lu Tong Lan. They were all mobilized. Once they left Calamity Luck Altar, the 8 of them activated an ancient battle formation, 8 extremities. This ancient battle formation was very special. Normally speaking, ancient battle formations gathered the strength of many Gu immortals into one, but this ancient battle formation split the gathered power into 8 Gu immortals, causing the 8 extremities' battle strength to surge immensely, making them go from rank 7 to rank 8 elites. Once the 8 extremities moved out, from the direction of Yellow Earth Great World, a group of people came. They were led by Fang Yuan's enslavement path clone Wu Shui, and the giant formed from the 12 Zodiac battle formation. Originally, Fang Yuan was waiting at the back while observing the situation. Once he saw a chance, he mobilized his people to attack. Heavenly Court's pressure intensified at once in order to prevent the Gu immortals from breaking through. Heavenly Court's Gu immortals flew out of their immortal Gu houses. Instantly, the battle surrounding Book Mountain reached the most intense climax. Almost each breath, there would be a killer move unleashed. Countless killer moves weaved together and created a beautiful fireworks of varying colors from within. The dazzling display, there was deep killing intent. Red Heart Traveler suddenly held up a sun of blood that shone brightly. Shielding 9 spiritual fairy. 9 spiritual fairy gave a clear roar. The 9-colored barrier shook and the 9 layers of light mixed together, becoming extremely dazzling. Next, the mixed light sphere flashed as 9 spiritual fairy transformed into a colorful rhinoceros. The rhinoceros had a large head and small body. It was shining with various colors. It spoke human language. "Thank you." Saying so, it charged towards the 12 Zodiac giant. Rumble. The 2 huge existences clashed. Dust clouds rose and rocks were sent flying. The moment 9 spiritual fairy left, Yellow extremity Jiaohua appeared behind Red Heart Traveler. Pew! As flames surged, Red Heart Traveler was caught unguarded and got hit by Yellow extremity. His defensive killer move was pierced, and he got substantially injured. How can this be? Red Heart Traveler was shocked, but quickly retaliated. But at the next moment, Yellow extremity pierced through space, escaping far away. Red Heart Traveler saw this. His heart sank. He could tell that Yellow extremity was a fire path cultivator. but he managed to unleash a space path method. So longevity heaven's 8 extremities killer move can not only connect the thoughts of the 8 extremities together and share their vision, they can also share killer moves. Under the effect of the killer move 8 extremities, the 8 extremities cooperated smoothly. The battle strength they displayed was beyond imagination. Red Heart Traveler became incredibly alert. He swiftly dodged attacks. The next moment, countless army ants swept the base of the mountain like a tsunami, quickly rising to the middle of the mountain. Wu Shuai did not step onto the mountain. He was outside manipulating his army. Divine Emperor City sent out countless Divine Bean soldiers to fight against the army ants. In the chaotic battle, a figure flew out like a rampaging dragon. There were huge waves wherever he went. There was a cape behind him that was blood red in color. He was Zhan Budu. Fairy Yuxiu had already gone to obstruct the 8 extremities, while Fairy Ming Hao was sent flying by Zhan Budu again. Stop him! Fairy Ming Hao shouted loudly. Wan Dan was nearby. It hesitated upon hearing this, not daring to move forward. Zhou Xiong Xian gritted his teeth. He stood before Zhan Budu immortal killer move. Rumors become tigers. Fierce tigers roared, charging towards Zhan Budu with imposing might. Zhan Budu sucked in with his mouth as the tigers were absorbed into his stomach. He easily arrived in front of Zhou Xiong Xian. Zhan Budu punched directly, piercing Zhou Xiong Xian's chest as his hand appeared. Behind the victim, Zhou Xiong Xian's eyes were wide open. He died on the spot. Zhan Budu waved his arm. This corpse was sent flying. He met with the awakened Gu immortal fairy maiden soul next. Zhan Budu shouted loudly. His monstrous strength obliterated fairy maiden soul. Her soul was completely destroyed. Zhan Budu stomped as he finally arrived at the top of the mountain. This time, Star Constellation chessboard had ceased attacking as well. It did not shoot out any more star pillars. Chapter 2183. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Star Constellation, as a child, was laughing happily. She wandered around the back mountain, roamed the multicolored flower fields, and played with the sweet mountain springs. She teased a young, intelligent leopard cat, which she had saved coincidentally. These last days, she would often come to the cave to see it, feed it, and play with it. You are playing around again? A voice suddenly came from behind. The child star constellation's body shook. She felt her skull turning numb as she slowly turned around and saw the white-robed, solemn-looking primordial origin immortal venerable. Master, Star Constellation lowered her head, saying softly, "Give your hand." Primordial origin immortal venerable brought out a ruler. Star Constellation gritted her teeth as she stretched out her small white hand. Slap. The ruler struck her palm and left a red mark. The intense pain struck her, but Star Constellation fought back the tears. The homework that you did recently is a total mess. Instead of training killer moves, you are playing with a cat here. Primordial origin immortal venerable looked at the leopard cat behind Star Constellation. The child Star Constellation immediately brimmed with tears. Master, don't be angry. Don't chase little yellow away. Its injuries have just healed. I promise I will definitely practice my killer moves. Primordial origin immortal venerable fixed his gaze at Star Constellation, but Star Constellation drummed up her courage and held her gaze, like she would protect the leopard cat no matter what. Primordial origin immortal venerable's expression was stiff. He picked up the child Star Constellation. Come with me. Star Constellation felt a strong wind brushing past her face and could not open her eyes. After some time, the roar of the wind suddenly stopped, and she felt her feet touching the ground. Take a look. Primordial origin immortal venerable's voice reached her. Star Constellation opened her eyes and saw that she was in a ruin. Her pupils shrunk. Her sight was filled with burning houses and corpses of man, woman, old, and young. This village was peaceful and quiet, but because it is near the regional wall, a group of variant human bandits invaded and massacred everyone. Do you know how often this situation occurs? Primordial origin immortal venerable asked. The child Star Constellation was deeply shocked, shaking her head subconsciously. This kind of situation is happening almost every day. Primordial origin immortal venerable heaved a sigh. Not only at the periphery of Central Continent, there are remnant variant humans even deep within Central Continent itself. They come out occasionally and kill us humans. Heavenly Court is already established in Central Continent. Humanity has firm dominance, while the variant human superforces have gone into hiding or have left Central Continent. As for the other 4 regions, variant humans still hold power. Do you know why that is the case? The child star constellation answered quickly. I know. I heard from the senior brothers and sisters that Master roamed the 5 regions and attacked all the variant human superforces. No matter how many variant human goo immortals there are, they cannot beat you. But they all hid away, so we cannot find them. Right. Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable nodded his head. When immortal apertures are placed in the world, they shrink down to the size of a speck. Searching them is extremely difficult, like searching for a needle in the ocean. Because of this, even though humanity has me, an immortal, venerable, invincible in the world, we are still unable to get rid of those variant humans. Although we have taken control of Central Continent, the other 4 regions are still not liberated. Because our human population is too small, we cannot compare to variant humans. Even if we target the 4 regions' variant human goo masters and mortals, even if we kill them all, as long as those variant human blessed lands and grotto heavens exist, they can easily nurture countless variant humans. Once blessed lands and grotto heavens hid, they were difficult to find, and the time inside was much faster than the outside world. The population inside could increase much more rapidly. Every once in a while, the blessed lands and grotto heavens could open their entrance and release the extra population in the 4 regions. These goo immortals' immortal apertures are the foundations of the variant humans. If we cannot find their specific locations, when I die, humanity will still be in a perilous situation. The past tragedy will repeat once more. Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable heaved a deep sigh and stroked the child star constellation's hair. This is why you need to work hard. Fate has decreed that you will become the future Immortal Venerable and create Wisdom Path. With Wisdom Path, we can deduce the location of most of the blessed lands and grotto heavens. We can kill those variant human goo immortals and ensure the prosperity of humanity for countless generations ahead. Xing Su. 1. You need to understand that with every moment you spend playing around, more of our people will die under the blades of the variant humans. Among them, there are many old people, and also many who are the same age as you. While you are playing, the children who are of your age lie in a pool of blood, unable to see the sun of tomorrow. The child star constellation was pale as paper as she pursed her lips in silence. Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable used his killer move again, bringing her back to the back of the mountain. He did not instruct her anymore and left her by herself. Several days later, the child star constellation parted with the leopard cat Little Yellow. Despite Little Yellow being very reluctant to leave, she still returned it to the forest. When she was alone, she squatted on the ground and held her knees, weeping softly to herself. Although Master is completely right, I am only just a child. The senior brothers and sisters can have fun, so why can't I? Is it simply because fate decreed me as the future Immortal Venerable? The child star constellation cried for a long time till nighttime. The sky was filled with stars. She slowly stood up. Her small, round face still had tear stains that a lump of starlight gushed out of her heart. Star constellation held this starlight and threw it on the back of the mountain. This lump of starlight bore a vague resemblance to her shadow. The child star constellation said to this starlight shadow, "Actually, I don't want to become an Immortal Venerable, but fate cannot be changed. Everyone is so kind to me. I need to think for them as well and bring happiness to the whole of humanity. If there is a second life, I want you to play all you want and make up for my regret in this life." The starlight shadow did not leave. The child star constellation looked at her and said, "Let me give you a name. Since Master often praises my wittiness, bright eyes, and white teeth, let's call you Ming Hao." The starlight shadow seemed to be very happy after receiving the name. It left quickly. Teenage star constellation grew into a young lady, and she was now an immortal. She did not just stay in close cultivation. She often traveled to different places to enrich her experience. There was no use in just cultivating behind closed doors, because what she needed to do was not to inherit Primordial Origin Immortal Venerable's legacy, but to create Wisdom Path. When she was traveling Eastern Sea with a disguised identity, she became acquainted with a goo immortal. Under some coincidences, she and this goo immortal ran into each other time and again. They joined hands to fight and got rid of variant human tribes. They explored sea trenches, and so on. Their friendship deepened, which eventually turned into feelings of fondness. But you are a variant human. When Star Constellation saw her beloved's true appearance, she stepped back in shock. Xing'er, I did not hide it on purpose. Please listen to my explanation. Her beloved one was anxious. Star Constellation, however, shook her head and flew up to the sky. The man gave chase without letting up, but because of his heavy injuries, he fell from the sky in the end. When he gained consciousness, he found that he was lying on a beach and Star Constellation was beside him. You saved me, Xing'er. I know it is you. Where are you? Come out and meet me. The man was both surprised and happy as he struggled to get up and shouted with all his strength, but he received no reply after all that. In the end, he could only leave the island. Under the setting sun, looking at his lonely, receding figure, Star Constellation stood on the beach and revealed herself. Her eyes were brimming with tears along with reluctance to part with him. Why do you have to be a variant human? How great would it be if you were human? Do you know that I already thought of marrying you? According to customs, Master had already prepared embroidered tower for me as dowry. But I cannot do it. Because I am Star Constellation, the future immortal venerable of humanity. I need to get rid of the variant human goo immortals from my people. If I become your wife, how can I attack them? Once the variant humans get comfortable, what will happen to the future of humanity? Her master's anticipation, the hope of humanity, and the support of the people around her. All of these burdens were weighing on Star Constellation's shoulders, but her heart still ached. The pain of unfulfilled love almost tore her soul apart. Starlight started to gush out of Star Constellation's heart. She held this lump of starlight again. She mumbled to the starlight shadow, since he praised my beauty and talent, I will name you Yushio. If there is another life, please live well for me. Don't care about the future of humanity. Don't think about the safety of people. For just once, live for yourself and be selfish. Go ahead and love. You can cry to your heart's content. The starlight shadow rippled as if replying to her. In her later years, Star Constellation had already become a venerable. Inside a hall, she sat on the main seat, looking at her senior sister who had always supported and taken care of her. She was like her own mother. Let me do it. The senior sister shouted. Asu, you are the great immortal venerable. You cannot sacrifice yourself to merge with heaven's will. No, Star Constellation shook her head softly. Precisely because I am the immortal venerable, I need to do this. The senior sister's eyes were filled with tears. Asu, you were only 3 years old when you became Master's disciple. I have taken care of you this entire time. I looked at you grow bit by bit, mature step by step, and finally become the Star Constellation immortal venerable of humanity. No one knows better than me how much sadness and pain you have endured in this process. You have already sacrificed too much over these years. Now, you have already done a great job and fulfilled everyone's expectations. Don't make sacrifices anymore. You still have a lot of time to do what you want to do. Didn't you often complain to me? Although your life seemed great and you have been praised by countless people, you still hold many regrets. Asu, you deserve a better life from now on. You have sacrificed too much for humanity. It is time for you to live for yourself. So this time, let me assimilate with heaven's will. Star Constellation smiled. Her figure flashed and appeared before her senior sister. She softly wiped her senior sister's tears and took out a lump of starlight from her heart. Senior sister, you praised me for my great magnanimity. I shall name this starlight shadow Feng. Let her accompany you in my stead. I was an orphan from birth. You looked after me all my life. You are my sister and also like my mother. How can I let you do this? In any case, I have already sacrificed and given up so much. It is already like a habit for me. Let Feng stay and look after you. She will help me make up for the regrets in life. I have left behind 3 starlight shadows. They are also my arrangements for revival. I do not want to see the day where I can revive, but if the situation aggravates to that degree and I revive, I will listen to you, my senior sister. Forget about this world or the whole of humanity. I will live for myself and myself only. For once, I want to be selfish too. Crazed Demon Cave. When Ming Hao, Yu Xiao, and Feng Yu woke up, they received devastating news. Fate Gu was destroyed. Heavenly Court had fallen to an abysmal state. The great demon Fang Yuan had risen up. The righteous path was declining while demons surged. Central Continent was surrounded by danger on all fronts that I once vowed to myself. I want to live my own life. To live for my pleasure, to live for my love, and to live for my happiness. Was I wrong? I had already completed my mission. I created Wisdom Path. I already got rid of most of the variant human goo immortals. I even led humanity on the path of prosperity. That it was time I took a rest. But why? Why did I subconsciously make plans and arrangements? Why am I still fighting here? Why? Fairy Ming Hao looked at the rising fire and smoke. She curled her lips. Fairy Yuxiu looked at demon immortal Qi Ju and the 8 extremities with a cold gaze. Fairy Feng Yu looked at the charging Zhanbu Du and smiled plainly. At this moment, starlight flickered on the bodies of the 3 fairies, resonating with bright radiance. The 3 immortals recited together, a life of selfless giving, worrying and helping the people, sacrificing my body and life for starlight to radiate the world. Everything changed upon revival. The 5 regions became unrecognizable. Only my heart remained the same. The 3 avatars unite to save heaven. Starlight connected and fused into one, its radiance rising towards the sky. The light soon formed into an immortal with peerless beauty. Her eyes shone brightly like stars in the sky. Star constellation, star constellation, star constellation. 1. Star constellation's name, which also became her title later, much like Paradise Earth. Chapter 2184. Immortal Venerables enter primordial domain. Star constellation Immortal Venerable. On the peak of Book Mountain, the scene of 3 star avatars joining into one and turning into star constellation Immortal Venerable shocked the immortals, who were bathed in blood. Although the immortals already expected the revival of venerables with Fate Gu being destroyed, when a venerable really revived in front of them, they still could not help but feel intense shock. Star constellation Immortal Venerable. The only female among the 10 venerables. She created Wisdom Path, inherited primordial origin Immortal Venerable's will, developed Heavenly Court, assimilated with Heaven's will, and helped Heavenly Court resist 3 demon venerables. Her name was always resplendent in the history of humanity. Her glorious reputation had never dimmed. Now, she had revived. Star constellation, take this punch. Zhanbu Du did not have any hesitation as he stepped on the mountain peak, and with a thunderous voice, he attacked Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's revival did not surprise Fang Yuan. In fact, he already had some speculations regarding the identities of Ming Hao, Yuxiu, and Feng Yu. These 3 had extremely high strength. They were all pseudo-venerables. Just this point alone was enough to explain the problem Heavenly Court was persistent in repairing fate, and had worked for it for over 1 million years. But in the crucial Fate War, there was only one pseudo-venerable battle strength, Duke Long, defending Heavenly Court. But right now in Crazed Demon Cave, Heavenly Court had suddenly brought out 3 pseudo-venerable battle strength experts. This proved that these 3 female immortals had revived only after the destruction of Fate Gu. If not for this, how could they not participate in the Fate War? Since they were revived pseudo-venerables, their names should have been renowned in history. But they were shrouded in mystery. More importantly, there was no trace of star constellation Immortal Venerable from the start. With these several clues and his strong wisdom path attainment, Fang Yuan deduced that the probability of these 3 immortals being star constellation was increasingly obvious. That it was like how Fang Yuan could create clones like Qi Si Ancestor, Zhanbu Du, and Wu Shui. Why could star constellation Immortal Venerable not do the same? It was just that star constellation's 3 avatars were more profound and mysterious than Fang Yuan's clones. The 3 fairies could become star constellation by fusing together. Zhanbu Du showed no fear against the revived star constellation. Before his punch even landed on star constellation Immortal Venerable, the intense wind from his punch blew star constellation Immortal Venerable's long hair into the air. Star constellation Immortal Venerable, however, was smiling. The next moment, Zhanbu Du struck star constellation, but he passed right through her. Star constellation Immortal Venerable's figure vanished like an illusory bubble. This was fake. It was merely an illusion. Jean Boudou realized this and quickly activated an investigative method, but could not detect Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's main body. Star Constellation, please hold on. Suddenly, Immortal Zombie Giant Sun's voice came from Calamity Luck Altar. Golden light drifted in the air, revealing Star Constellation Immortal Venerable's figure, but Star Constellation Immortal Venerable used a killer move. Inside her immortal aperture, Fairy Feng Yu's talent goo, and Fairy Yushio's serious goo and learning goo, which were temporarily taken out from Divine Emperor City, activated one after the other. Immortal essence was consumed intensely. Star Constellation Immortal Venerables figure turned illusory again. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun's golden light could not obstruct her any longer. Under everyone's gaze, Star Constellation Immortal Venerable flew to the sky grandly and entered primordial domain. Damn it. Jean Boudou gritted his teeth as he gave chase. However, although he caught up to Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, she was like a silhouette that could not be disturbed by Jean Boudou. She quickly entered the depths of primordial domain. But Jean Boudou passed through primordial domain. Without special methods, there is no way to enter primordial domain. Jean Boudou's eyes burned with anger. Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was revived, but she did not fight Jean Boudou, instead choosing to directly head to primordial domain. She was a venerable. She could not make a move casually. Otherwise, she would be suppressed by limitless demon venerable's methods, just like Chi Si Ancestor. She directly left without caring for Heavenly Court's immortals, Book Mountain, and the whole battlefield. But this became a fatal move. Lu Wei Yin's expression was ashen and extremely unsightly. Primordial domain was the crucial factor of the battle in Crazed Demon Cave. The reason they attacked Book Mountain furiously was to obstruct Heavenly Court from obtaining primordial domain. They never expected that even though Star Constellation Immortal Venerable was unable to get primordial domain, she could directly fly into it. Jean Boudou lacked suitable methods and could not block her. In fact, even Immortal Zombie Giant Sun made a move, but was unable to obstruct Star Constellation Immortal Venerable. What do we do? Lu Wei Yin was at a loss. Once Star Constellation Immortal Venerable entered primordial domain to replenish her lost attainment level, she would quickly become a Wisdom Path Supreme Grandmaster and regain her status of the Wisdom Path Tao Lord. Is Heavenly Court going to continue controlling the future of this world? Bing Sai Chuan sighed dejectedly. Not necessarily. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun sneered. Let's go. At the next moment, Calamity Luck Altar shone with dazzling golden light. The golden light shot everywhere before joining together and making a path that stretched forward. It was Calamity Luck Altar's killer move. Luck-changing golden light path. At the same time, Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace that was stationed in Savage Wilderness Great World also let out a majestic light. Ever since Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace was brought into Crazed Demon Cave, it had actively participated and cooperated with limitless demon venerables' deductions regarding the development of the worlds. It had gotten deeply involved. Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace's light shone on Calamity Luck Altar, creating mysterious changes in the luck-changing golden light path. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun flew out of Calamity Luck Altar and followed the golden light path into primordial domain. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun was unable to stop Star Constellation Immortal Venerable, but he possessed the number 1 luck path attainment in the world. He made use of Calamity Luck Altar and Luck Suppression Heavenly Palace to enter primordial domain. Longevity Heaven's immortals cheered as they saw this, but Fang Yuan's subordinates were pale. Damn it. Damn it. Lu Wei Yin's expression was extremely unsightly. Although Longevity Heaven cooperated with Fang Yuan, their main goal was to make use of him. Right now, Immortal Zombie Giant Sun directly abandoned Fang Yuan and entered primordial domain himself. It was obvious that he was seeking to replenish his luck path attainment level in primordial domain and become a luck path Tao Lord once again. Both Heavenly Court and Longevity Heaven threw Fang Yuan aside. Is this a venerable's foundation? Xiao Hejian heaved a sigh. Should we retreat? Ice Crystal Immortal Monarchs will started to waver. Fang Yuan was the source of these variant human goo immortals' confidence, but currently, it was obvious Fang Yuan could not compare to the two venerables. This made the variant human goo immortals' morale fall sharply. No need to worry. At this time, Fang Yuan's main body came over from Yellow Earth Great World. His expression was still calm. Lua Yin's eyes shone with hope. Lord Fang Yuan, you have a way. Fang Yuan nodded, looking towards Rising Cloud City. Qi Ju, let's cooperate once again. Demon Immortal Qi Ju flew over from Rising Cloud City. Heh, I knew you had ulterior motives when you gave me the rank 8 Immortal Gu House. But your killer move has no issue. Come, let's work together. Fang Yuan stretched out his hand, taking out Hu Land from the Qi Si clone's immortal aperture at the same time. Shi Land appeared above Demon Immortal Qi Ju Hu Land, and Shi Land came together and shone on each other. Lua Yin was exulted when he saw this. I get it. The Legends of Rinzhu has records of this. The Legends of Rinzhu, Chapter 5, Section 37. Wisdom Gu was bitten by Self-Gu. It felt very angry and decided to take revenge. Wisdom Gu found Lai Gu. No matter what I say, my words are filled with wisdom. They will advise and help others. This won't do, so I came to you for help. Lai Gu asked, how do you want me to help you? Wisdom Gu said, this is easy and simple. Rinzhu and his children are in primordial domain now. In front of primordial domain is Shi Land, while behind it is Hu Land. Go to primordial domain and deceive Rinzhu. Tell him Hu Land is in front while Shi Land is behind. Lai Gu was puzzled. That can help you take revenge? Wisdom Gu laughed loudly. Humans need to breathe in first before they can breathe out. Meanwhile, Shi Land and Hu Land are the breathing of heaven and earth. Just follow my instructions. Lai Gu followed Wisdom Gu's arrangements and went to primordial domain. It told Rinzhu, human, you need to be careful. You are in a mystical place. You will reach Hu Land if you go forward and Shi Land if you move back. Rinzhu had been thinking of leaving primordial domain, he thought. The Beastmen once advised me to not go to Hu Land. In that case, I shall head towards the back and go to Shi Land. Rinzhu moved towards the back of primordial domain with his children great strength, true martial, and carefree wisdom heart. Thus, they arrived at Hu Land. This is not Shi Land. Carefree wisdom heart knew they had been deceived. Rinzhu patted his chest. Fortunately, I died once and betrayal Gu has already left me. Otherwise, if I care, 1. Betrayal Gu will harm me. But great strength, true martial suddenly realized something and shouted. This is bad. What's wrong? Rinzhu was just about to ask when Self-Gu flew out of his body. Self-Gu left Rinzhu, leaving behind a sentence. Oh human, after you put attitude Gu on me, you deceived even yourself, so don't blame me for leaving you. Back then, Rinzhu protected weak Gu. Weak Gu urged Rinzhu to put attitude Gu on Self-Gu to deceive himself, creating the perfect deception that managed to even deceive the predicament. If humans deceived themselves, their sense of self would leave and the person would lose themselves. Rinzhu was angry and anxious. What to do? Self-Gu left me. How can I obtain freedom without it? How can I break free of the restraints of fate? Self-Gu once took a bite of betrayal Gu, so it gained the inclination to betray. I was already dissatisfied with it. Great strength, true martial's ability, Gu shouted. The skilled were naturally dissatisfied with themselves. Self-Gu will be out of our sight soon. We need to give chase. Carefree wisdom heart reminded. The three immediately chase after Self-Gu. Self-Gu left very fast and dove into a river. The river's surface was calm with ice of all sizes floating on it. This is the river of time. The ice floating on the river is called truthful floating ice. Rinzhu's group recognized it immediately. They had gained this knowledge in the Qian Kuan crystal wall. Rinzhu looked afar and said, I think Self-Gu is hiding in the center of the floating ice. Let's quickly go and catch it. 1. Care is read as at who here. It's a word pun. Chapter 2185. Fang Yuan enters primordial domain. Rinzhu's group sized up the situation by the riverside. Every piece of floating ice in the river of time was a piece of truth. Rinzhu observed for a long while before pointing towards a floating ice. This floating ice is neither big nor small and has a smooth surface. Let's step on this. But great strength, true martial said. This floating ice is clearly too small. It is not enough for us three. Carefree wisdom heart shook her head. This floating ice is quite big, but there are many spikes on it. They will pierce our feet. Even when looking at the same truth, from the perspectives of different people, they could be big or small, minor or severe, difficult or easy. Some could accept it, but some could not. Rinzu's group discussed for a long while before they chose a floating ice and stepped on it. When Rinzu stepped on this ice, he immediately cried and sniveled. Great strength, true martial shouted in anger, while carefree wisdom heart laughed happily. When looking at the same truth, different people would have different feelings and emotions regarding it. Rinzu and his children could only endure this. Every piece of floating ice in the river of time is a cold and silent truth. But we humans have hearts. We feel emotions when we come across truths, and when truths and emotions mix, they create different situations, one for everyone. Carefree wisdom heart recalled the knowledge in her mind. The floating ice carried the group and drifted for a while before it started shrinking and submerging. Let's jump to that floating ice. Rinzu pointed towards the left at his front. Before the floating ice under them submerged, the three jumped to the second floating ice. This piece of truth created different emotions in Rinzu's group. The longer they stood on the floating ice, the more these emotions accumulated as the floating ice continued to sink. The emotions they felt also changed. Some went from angry to happy, while others went from happy to depressed. I can't endure this anymore. I feel horrible. After persisting for a while, Rinzu said while grasping his heart, "Let's jump to that floating ice." The three jumped over, but shortly afterwards, carefree wisdom heart said, "I cannot stand this situation. I am also feeling extremely down. I even want to die." Rinzu's group of three quickly changed to another floating ice. And no matter what truth they came upon, in reality, they could be endured by gritting one's teeth. The most dreadful thing was the suffering of the heart. If the heart could not endure it, the person would be unable to continue moving forward. After changing several pieces of floating ice, great strength true martial felt the least amount of discomfort. "I am still fine." Strong Gu shouted proudly in his heart. There are too many situations in the world, but it has always been the weak who suffer more than the strong. Fortitude Gu called out. "The credit here goes to me because I have been helping you since the start." Fortitude Gu could suppress emotions. Suddenly, two Gu worms grew on carefree wisdom heart's palms. The Gu on the left palm was called good. The Gu on the right palm was called bad. Humans, we can help you distinguish which situation is good and which is bad. Good Gu and bad Gu said together in a soft voice. Thus, with the help of good Gu and bad Gu, Rinzu's group was able to choose a piece of floating ice that had a good situation. All three of them felt happy when standing on this floating ice. When the floating ice started to submerge and good situations turned bad, the three jumped away. Like this, the three gradually turned happy, then ecstatic, before finally becoming euphoric. They could not move forward anymore as they drowned in emotions of endless joy. The three forgot about their situation. The truthful floating ice they were standing on submerged completely. They fell into the river one after the other. Crazed Demon Cave, 8th layer, Chi Land. Hu Land. The two secluded domains of heaven and earth let out misty white light that mixed into one and formed a horizontal pillar of light. The final step. Fang Yuan let out a breath of relief as he activated a killer move that Chi aura flew into the light pillar, forming a vortex in the middle. The vortex shot to the sky, and when the white light vortex touched the surface of primordial domain, it expanded and shrouded the whole primordial domain like a fog. Fang Yuan followed the white vortex of light and went into primordial domain. Amazing, amazing. Primordial domain is in between Chi Land and Hu Land. Using these two secluded domains of heaven and earth, he managed to locate primordial domain. Lu Weiyin praised loudly as he followed after Fang Yuan. Behind him were pseudo-venerable battle strength experts like Zhanbu Du, Demon Immortal Qi Ju, and Qi Si Ancestor. After these immortals entered primordial domain, the white vortex dissipated rapidly, disappointing those Gu immortals who had been thinking of making a move. Fang Yuan was floating in primordial domain, frowning deeply. The moment he stepped in, countless inspirations appeared in his mind, but this was not a natural process. It was like a forced installation. Fang Yuan experienced an indescribable pain. This pain did not come from his body or soul. It came from his mind. His mental state had been like a lake with no waves, being tranquil like a giant mirror. But now, there were fierce waves moving roughly. This was like a process where an infant who only knew how to eat, drink, sleep, and excrete got forced to learn the joy of a child jumping and playing. If infants jumped and played, they would injure themselves. It was also like a child who thought toys were the most precious thing, but was forcefully instilled the perspective of an adult. That money was the most important thing. A goo cultivator's attainment level was very hard to raise. By entering primordial domain, Fang Yuan was increasing his attainment level unnaturally and forcefully. It went against the law of nature. Fang Yuan clenched his teeth and endured it. There was no trace of star constellation Immortal Venerable and Immortal Zombie Giant Sun, who had entered earlier. Fang Yuan also did not concentrate on them. He quickly inspected his body and came to a realization. Many paths' attainment levels are increasing rapidly. Refinement path is also among them, but rule path's progress is the fastest. Fang Yuan thought about it and started to move in primordial domain. He used a method which allowed him to fly in primordial domain like a free bird. Primordial domain crumbled apart wherever he went. Fang Yuan's heart sank. Although primordial domain was a secluded domain of heaven and earth, it was extremely fragile. Fang Yuan did not even attack. It was just that he had too many Dao marks. Even primordial domain could not endure it. Fortunately, before those areas of primordial domain collapsed, the attainment levels they contained were transferred into Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan felt a sense of urgency. I must find the correct direction quickly. If those areas in the primordial domain that contain refinement path are destroyed, it will be terrible. Fang Yuan was unfamiliar with primordial domain, but all kinds of thoughts clashed in his mind, and his profound wisdom path attainment allowed him to quickly understand his situation. Primordial domain contained the profundities of all paths. Any goo cultivator could benefit from it. Fang Yuan acutely adjusted his direction and moved in primordial domain, gaining a lot of progress in his refinement path attainment level. His direction was correct, and soon, his rate of progress in refinement path became the highest, among several other paths that were growing too. Fang Yuan's feeling at this moment could not be expressed in words. Even though he was feeling incomparable pain and his mental state was unstable, he also felt full and satisfied. At the same time, there was also an increasing thirst. This thirst was towards knowledge, towards attainment levels. It is no wonder that in The Legends of Renzu, after Renzu obtained knowledge, he was not satisfied. He kept taking in more knowledge until his brain reached its limit and exploded. Fang Yuan felt a sense of resonance with Renzu. Almost there. Fang Yuan endured the pain as joy appeared on his face. His intuition was telling him strongly that he was only a short distance from refinement path's supreme grandmaster. Rumble. Right at this time, primordial domain shook and large areas started collapsing and breaking apart. Fang Yuan's refinement path attainment level that had been rising stopped abruptly. Giant Sun, star constellation. Fang Yuan's gaze turned cold and sharp that he looked far away. Immortal Zombie Giant Sun and star constellation Immortal Venerable were fighting. They selected the location of their fight really well. It was in the main area of refinement path. Once this portion of primordial domain was destroyed, Fang Yuan's refinement path attainment level could not increase anymore. In previous fights, Fang Yuan had probed many weaknesses of longevity heaven and heavenly court. Similarly, details about him were also taken notice of by Immortal Zombie Giant Sun and star constellation Immortal Venerable. They were aware that Fang Yuan wanted to break through in refinement path. Since they came to primordial domain a step earlier, how could these two venerables watch without doing anything? Thus, as they fought, they destroyed the future prospects of Fang Yuan. Star constellation Immortal Venerable must have taken the initiative to attack. And although Immortal Zombie Giant Sun was in an alliance with Fang Yuan, he was definitely happy to take advantage of the situation. Star constellation Immortal Venerable saw Fang Yuan's main body, immediately pointing at him. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Hundreds of deep blue stars shot towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan gave a shout, his whole body emitting 7-colored radiance. Immortal Killer Move. 7 kills rainbow, metal paths yellow light, wood paths jade green light, water paths light blue hue, fire paths red light, earth paths brown light, wind paths green, radiance and lightning paths deep blue light. 7 lights from these 7 paths mixed together and shot forward in a drill shape. Bam! The 7 kills rainbow destroyed most of the stars and continued towards star constellation Immortal Venerable. Starlight flashed around star constellation Immortal Venerable, blocking this killer move. But she still staggered, and her face revealed surprise. What killer move is this? It was naturally a compound killer move. This 7 kills rainbow was modified from the 5 technique rainbow. The latter was once used by Fang Yuan in Eastern Sea when the Righteous Qi Alliance attacked Xia Clan headquarters to retrieve Xia Clan's lost territory. 5 technique rainbow used metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, for a total of 5 paths. But 7 kills rainbow went a step further, containing the swift wind and violent lightning. It was hard for star constellation Immortal Venerable to defend against such a killer move, because to block this move, she had to simultaneously consider metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, and lightning. These amounted to 7 paths. There were many killer moves that seemingly involved many paths, but they were without any substance and essence. For instance, when thieving Heaven Demon Venerable fought with limitless willing crazed Demon Cave, he had used a killer move that imitated other paths' strength. The essence of the killer move was still one path. It was just that it imitated other paths. In fact, to deal with his killer move, only theft path needed to be targeted. But 7 kills rainbow genuinely contained the strength of 7 paths, with just one exchange with Fang Yuan. Even the grand star constellation Immortal Venerable felt troubled. One aspect was the difficulty of defending against compound killer moves. The other aspect was Fang Yuan's vast Dao mark accumulation. He had too many Dao marks. Star constellation Immortal Venerable might have been able to match it before, but the current her had just revived. The 3 avatars merged into one. Their Dao marks were also added together, which became the current star constellation Immortal Venerable's foundation. But clearly, the number of Dao marks that star constellation had was lower than Fang Yuan. Chinese character for situation/thing is made up of truth and emotion.